He's a driver that's went off the radar completely in 2019. Well, halfway through 2019 at least. And that driver is Esteban Ocon, the driver of the moment in 2017 and 2018, making all the headlines for racing for the former Force India team at the time. He had a lot of potential coming in through the ranks. I think he won GP3, competed in DTM. He had a really good reputation coming into the sport. Had two solid years at Force India alongside his very dominant teammate in Sergio Perez. Rivalry, a bit of a rivalry there. Missed out on that, in my opinion. But obviously, like I said, he had two really good years at Force India. Got demoted for this season in place of the new consortium, the new owner, Lawrence Stroll. His son, Lance Stroll, former Williams driver, came in to replace Esteban Ocon, and people went in uproar. At the start of the season, he was in the media once again, like, oh, is Esteban Ocon going to be in that Mercedes seat? Obviously, he isn't part of the Mercedes Junior, part of the Mercedes team. He's the test driver, third driver, flight simulator driver, whatever. Rumoured to be replacing Bottas throughout the course at some point during the season, even next season if Bottas doesn't deliver. But Bottas has had a very solid start of the season, and everyone has went completely quiet on Esteban Ocon until now, when all of a sudden he's just seemed to resurface up from nowhere, and everyone seems to be talking about him. So where would Esteban Ocon end up next season? Is it going to be Formula One? Or is it going to be in another form of motorsport? But before I roll on any further with this episode, I just want to introduce our latest guest on the F1 Debate Show, our third guest of the season, and it's a very big honour to introduce this guest. You may know him mainly from the F1 World streams if you watch his videos, or Sean's videos, and if you are watching Sean, I promise I will have him back in one piece. I'm just borrowing from this video, so I will hand it back to you in one piece. Now, of course, I am talking about Jonty. Jonty, welcome to the F1 Debate Show. Thank you very much for coming on. First of all, how are you doing? Are you enjoying the season so far?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It's good to be here. Spread my wings a little bit.
Pleasure.
But it's not been the best season, but it's certainly had some drama for everyone to talk about. And
Absolutely.
Whether the racing's great or not, there's still something to talk about, and that's why we're all here.
Exactly, that's why this is why we're here. This is why obviously you're here as well. And Formula One, just you can have boring races, but you're always going to have a big thing to talk about. Even if it's one little thing that turns into a big thing, or even if the big thing turns into a little thing, there's loads and loads of things to talk about in the world of Formula One. So anyway, so Esteban Ocon going into Formula, is he going to Formula One or is it going into another form of motorsport? So I'm going to really start with that. I still don't know with Esteban Ocon, right? Because I was a bit annoyed that he got demoted from Racing Point in place of Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll, he's been doing okay. I mean, he hasn't exactly set the world alight, has he? Since coming to Formula One, he's been really accused of being there because of money, and now a driver's not in that seat because a guy is. But the problem is that Lawrence Stroll is of course Lance Stroll's dad. He runs the team. Of course, he's going to be in that seat. It'll be stupid not to. We've already discussed this when the announcement was made. So Ocon is having a year on the sidelines, and he's just been here and there as to where he's going to go next season. Bottas coming into this season was on the back foot. A winless 2018. The pressure was already on, probably since pre-season, and everyone was thinking, right, if Bottas doesn't have a really good start of the year, would Ocon replace him during the course of the season, or would he be the guy to replace Bottas at the end of 2019, coming into 2020? But so far Bottas is doing a really solid job, and he's won 2 races so far this season. He's had a bit of a rocky previous 2 races. 29 points behind Lewis Hamilton at the time of recording. I mean, it could be more by the time you watch this. So, and he hasn't been doing a bad job. And Ocon is like, oh dear, is Formula One? Am I going to get that Mercedes seat? Does he deserve that Mercedes? Does he deserve that Mercedes seat? For me personally, I don't really think so. I think Bottas is doing a better, a good enough job. As long as Mercedes want him there, I think Bottas is going to stay there. But maybe Ocon could come in there at some point. And replace one of those 2 drivers, Bottas or Hamilton, should one of them decide to leave or decide to retire or whatever. I can't see Ocon in this season, and I can't see him in next season either. So where does that leave him? He could move elsewhere to the likes of Racing Point. One of those drivers could leave. Lance Stroll leaving? I severely doubt it. Perez could get up and go, but again, I really doubt that. I really doubt that. I mean, he could get snapped up by another team. Then you got the likes of Renault, who Esteban Ocon was supposed to be going to. He had meetings with the team. He more or less was going to sign the deal, and then Ricciardo kind of barged his way in and said, "No, this is my contract. I want to be here." So Renault chose Ricciardo over Ocon. Was that a good move? I mean, we'll never know, to be honest with you. So it's looking a bit bleak still for Esteban Ocon, even though Toto Wolff and his management team have said that they're doing everything that they can to get him an F1 drive for 2020. But there are other options out there. For example, one that I think could be a bit more realistic is Formula E. Now, currently, I think there's only 3 races left in the Formula E season of 2018-2019, and then 2019-2020. That's when I think Mercedes coming into the fold. So maybe Ocon go to Formula E. I mean, all the big, all former Formula 1 drivers seem to be going there. Stuff with Van Dorn, Felipe Massa, those type of drivers, going in there. And I think for me, Ocon, I think for me, Mercedes are going to be up there in terms of top teams of Formula E, and Esteban Ocon, I think, could potentially go that way, and I think that for me could be a real big option. That's if he does want to go. That is, I mean, his aim will be stay in Formula 1, but does he want to have another year on the sidelines, or does he want to race? Of course he wants to race. He's a racing driver. That's what they're there for. They're not there just to stay on the sidelines for 2-3 years or whatever. And if that doesn't work out, there's always DTM, which he competed in, I think, for, was it 10 races, I believe? He didn't do well in DTM. He had like an average year. He was competing in GP2 at the time, or GP3 at the time, and then got the Manor drive during the course of 2016. So there's all kind of options out there for Esteban Ocon, but I think for me, I think the Formula 1 seat is kind of drying up in a way. He won't go to Mercedes, I can't say that. There is rumours of Williams, but I think that for me, Williams will keep Russell and employ Latifi, who's currently the Formula 2 leader. I think those two will be in the seat next season, unless Ocon wants to cut ties with Mercedes and go elsewhere. I'm not too sure. But for me, realistically, I think I could see Ocon in Formula E with an option to come back to Formula 1. Who knows? It just depends how his Formula E career goes, should he go there. So, Jonty, bring you into this one for the first time. What's your thoughts on Ocon, and where do you think he will be come the start of the 2020, motorsport season?
Well, you've covered quite a lot of the details that have gone on for Ocon there, and you look back to last year, and I think his biggest enemy throughout the whole of that saga was timing. Mm-hmm. All of the timing went against him so much. You had Ricciardo umming and ahhing for months and months and months about what he was going to do before eventually going for it. Mm-hmm. And also, you got the Force India Racing Point news, which kind of exploded out of nowhere. But it was all just too late. It all came just that couple of races after Mercedes had stuck with Bottas. If all of that had happened a little bit earlier, I strongly suspect Ocon could well have been in that seat this year, because Bottas was performing so poorly.
He was well off the pace.
He really wasn't. Yeah. He started pretty strongly, but fell away sort of after just 3 or 4 races and was nowhere.
It was about this point, wasn't it, when Bottas had a good start, and then he kind of drifted away a bit, roughly about this time, maybe a bit earlier. And it seems to be happening. I mean, I don't want to curse anything yet, because he's had a really good start, 2 wins. But it seems to be now Bottas is he's going from Bottas 2.0 to Bottas 1.0 now all of a sudden. And again, I think this is like Bottas rises, Esteban falls, then all of a sudden Bottas falls and Esteban rises. It's like a bit of an imbalanced scale at the moment, isn't it? So, and I think this is why the news is cropping up again.
Yeah, and the problem is, will it work out for Esteban this time? And I'm worried that it won't, because if we get the same thing going again, and Mercedes decide, hang on, right, we gave Valtteri the benefit of the doubt last year and stuck with him, but he's fallen away again far too much. By this point, by the start of next year, or when the decisions come this year, George Russell's got a season under his belt. Yeah. And we know he's very hotly tipped, very well tied in with the Mercedes program. It would be very hard to not take the young driver who will happily, well, maybe not happily, but will sit there as a defined number 2 to Lewis, assuming Lewis stays. No one knows what's going to happen despite his 5-year claim.
Well,
And that could again see Ocon out the window. I think he's most likely going to be in Formula E. Like you say, with
yeah,
Mercedes joining Formula E and the series growing and growing all the time. As
yeah,
much as a lot of people don't like it, the noise is off-putting, the tracks are off-putting. Some of the tracks, not all of them. Some of them are really hilarious.
yeah.
But it is going to be around to stay. It is going to keep getting bigger, and it is going to be a more attractive option for drivers as the years go by. Especially with all of the worries of 2021 still up in the air and now put back to October.
Yes, it
worse
is.
than Brexit.
It's just going to go on forever, isn't it? It's just going to be like, I think October's going to be a very big month, isn't it, for political stances anyway. Especially you've got Brexit and you've got the Formula One regulations and stuff. So I'm more one eye on the Formula One regulations personally, but yes, what you're saying about Formula E about it growing and growing and growing. Ocon could go on and make a name for himself in a different kind of sport. We have seen drivers do that as well. I mean, look at what Jonty Verne's doing at the moment. He's been Formula One. He never had the chance. Jumped sport to Formula E. He's world champion, isn't he? And then he's on course to do it again. So it can work. And I think Mercedes have got the finances. They've got the team, without a doubt. I couldn't see Hamilton making the jump. I think he'll stay well away from Formula E. But I think Ocon, definitely Ocon could be in contention with one of those seats. That's if they've got him in line, because I know that Stoffel Van Dorn is rumoured to be in that seat. He's with is it HWA, which is the spec team for Mercedes, isn't it?
They are involved in some way, and I can't remember exactly how.
Something like that. They've got like a some sort of like team at HWA. It's like a backup team or something like that. Anyways, so I mean out of Van Dorn and Stoffel. Van Dorn and Stoffel. Ocon. Van Dorn and Stoffel. Which one would you choose out of those two? Ocon and Stoffel.
Definitely
Stoffel all the way. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, for me, I think they would choose Ocon because he's got closer ties and everything. And I think on the sidelines, it does do you a world of good. I mean, if he does come back to Formula One, I think you'll be an even better driver. I mean, look at Daniel Kvyat. He had a year on the sidelines with Ferrari. He's doing bits at the moment. I mean, it's only 8 races, fair enough, but still, though, better than what he's been doing in the past. So yeah, I think we both agree that, well, more than likely Esteban Ocon might go to Formula E. So Lyle, bring you into this one for the first time. We've had our say. Where's your stance with Ocon? Because I know you're a bit of an Ocon fan, a little bit. So
yeah, well,
kind of, yeah. Because I think I remember you always said to me that you two are like the same height. So that's something you always say.
Yes.
So
yes,
so
right, yeah. Well, yeah, he's a big driver.
It's like, where's your stance?
So he came into Formula One. He replaced Rio Haryanto. See, he was from Indonesia, I think it was. Bit of a strange driver. Money was behind him again, so like I can kind of compare him and Lance together. So see, he replaced him at Manor, obviously alongside Pascal Wehrlein in 2016. And the big thing for me in Esteban was, yes, as you say, John, we're the same height. I think he's 6'4". I'm just tipping the scales over 6'4". So yeah, very much same height. He's again, almost my age as well. French driver. He saw that big smile. He was kind of like the European Daniel Ricciardo in that way. So again, he was going to be one of my favourite drivers to watch. And again, as I say, young driver. Exciting to watch. Yeah, me and John followed him in GP2 as well, and GP3. We did see him in Monza. I think he was racing in the year before. No. That wasn't right, so because we saw him in 2017, and obviously when he came in 2016, it was exciting to see. And the first thing that kind of caught my eye about Esteban Ocon was he finished 27 races consecutively with Manor. Obviously there was no reliability problems, and he finished 27 races obviously through 2016, and basically I think it was most of the way through 2017. I think he had 2 retirements in the 2017 season, so really great from that. Really, really consistent. He was a good driver to watch. As I say, big smile, really good personality in the paddock. Now, yes, when he was at Force India, I think that he did a good job. There was a lot behind him, but for sure he was a second place driver. Alongside Checo Perez, there was no kind of way that Esteban was going to do better than him in these races. In 2018, it was good from him. He got some really good finishes, some good top 10 finishes. Obviously Esteban Ocon, you remember what happened to him in Intergalos 2018, obviously when he collided with Max, which I know it was only a racing incident, and me and John did a video on it. We talked about who was at fault. I said that it was just a racing incident, but I never blamed Esteban. I said it was, if anything, it was more Max's fault. It definitely wasn't Esteban's fault. And the thing is, John, is that that is tarnished his reputation just a little bit, because again, what I've been reading and what I've been seeing is that people have been, that this incident with Max Verstappen, or Esteban's a bit of a wary driver to watch. He's not really trustworthy that much, and he had that run-in with Max. And again, whatever Max says goes, as we saw with Red Bull in 2016. Yeah. Anyway, so skipping forward to this year. So yeah, he's out of Racing Point. Lawrence Stroll buys the team. Lance Stroll comes into the team, which, firstly, again, we have talked about Lance Stroll, and we will do in the future, but I don't believe that his drive is just completely not worth it. I believe that he's done well getting to Formula 1. He's won, I think it was Formula 3, Formula Asia Series. He's won, quite a few formulas and lower category races getting to Formula 1. He's deserved his drive. Obviously, he's with Williams doing an okay job there. It's just that, yes, his dad has the backing to support a very struggling financial team. He was there to pick up the pieces with Williams when they were struggling with money, were struggling with funds, and he was there to do it with Force India, which again, there's nothing wrong with that, because when Marcus Ericsson came into Formula 1, obviously a Swedish driver with Longbow Finance, again, he rescued Sauber. Again, like I've just said about Rio Haryanto from Indonesia, because he was the one and only, I think it is, Indonesian driver. There was a lot of backing from the Indonesian government, so the national body of Indonesia, they were backing him into Formula 1. So in terms of Formula 1 and money, I don't want to say it's not great, it's not ideal to say a driver should come from money, but yes, if it's going to happen, then I think Lance was within his right to take that seat. But yes, anyway, back to Esteban. So he came in Mercedes Junior Program in 2019. And I remember, firstly, yes, there was talk over the winter about, Toto Wolff had already made his mind up about who was going to take that seat. Valtteri Bottas who, by the way, was at 3 wins and 30 podiums at this time. And Mercedes weren't performing that very well in pre-season. Sorry. Esteban Ocon was going to take that seat at the end of 2020 for the 2020 season. He was going to be alongside Lewis Hamilton. We were going to get rid of Valtteri Bottas, who, as I said, 3 wins beforehand, 30 podiums, a handful, quite a few points. Well, enough points to win the 2017 and 2018 constructors. So he was doing well, but Toto Wolff almost decided that Esteban was going to be in this seat. Australia rolls by, FP1, FP2, FP3 qualifying, and again, all the pundits are going towards, Valtteri's doing well, but, look at Esteban in the pits. Esteban's eyeing up that seat. Everything all went quiet, though, after the race, when Valtteri Bottas won the race. And, as soon as the race finished, which, by the way, beforehand, as I say, Toto Wolff had already almost guaranteed that Esteban was going to take this seat at the end of for the 2020 season. All this went out the window completely. And again, I know you found it funny out there, but the reason why, Valtteri Bottas said to whoever it may concern, F you, and the reason he said that on the radio was the fact that, well, yes, one, people thought that Lewis was much better, and he was being, he was very much a second place driver. But secondly, the reason why was because people were almost assuming, Toto Wolff included, that Esteban Ocon was going to take that seat and Valtteri Bottas was going to be left in no man's land.
A lot of people doubted Bottas, didn't they, coming into the season? A lot of people were like...
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why
ship up or ship out,
the
really.
radio message came out.
Included.
So obviously afterwards, Toto Wolff was in press conferences, and again there was a lot of questions about Esteban Ocon, what was happening to him. Oh, he's still in our driver program, we're still training him up to, yes, hopefully take that seat. But really what I'm trying to say is that since Australia, there's just been absolutely no news on him. And Valtteri Bottas, 3 wins going into 2019. And then now he's at 5 wins and 36 podiums, I believe. And again, even more points. 5 consecutive 1-2. For Mercedes. One of the best start to not just their career, but Mercedes, but Formula 1 team
best ever start. Yeah.
So he's definitely helping the team. He's doing his utmost best for the team. He's won races. He's won in Azerbaijan and he won in Australia. So he's doing everything he can for the team. But it wasn't enough, and they just kept overruling him, saying that Esteban was going to take a seat. So, Valtteri Bottas is performing to the max at Mercedes. That's why I slipped under the radar, because if people at Mercedes especially were going to keep saying that Esteban was going to be in the seat, then why get rid of Valtteri? And I believe that Valtteri is a strong enough driver, and there's no reason why Mercedes should even be looking at Esteban Ocon.
So where do you think Ocon will be next season? Do you think Do you think that he will be in that Mercedes seat next season? Do you think they will remove Bottas should his form dip, or do you think, he'll go on somewhere else?
So obviously, you two think that he'll be in Formula E. I disagree. I think that he'll be in Formula One, but definitely not at Mercedes because, as I've just said, Valtteri Bottas is doing a great job at Mercedes.
Yep.
Lewis Hamilton is the five-time world champion. That's it. They're not going to get rid of him. Not at all. And again, like Jonty said, 5 years left on his cards.
So he says.
There's other teams that he can go to. So obviously Renault, as you said, Jordan, that's a big one to go to. He was in the Renault Junior program. He was a Renault driver. I believe he was a test driver in 2015. Haas is another one that he could go to. Back to Racing Point, but the one that I believe that will happen is that he will go to Williams. Now, the reason I think that he'll go to Williams is a few reasons. One, again, the money, the money and the experience that he will bring. Not just following what George Russell did, because Mercedes Junior driver, he did go to Williams, but Esteban going to Williams, Mercedes, they're a Mercedes team, and Williams are very much a team at the back. They don't want to be a B team, and they want to get as close to Mercedes as they can. Yeah. That's why they've got George Russell, a Mercedes Junior driver. They've got Robert Kubica, who is an ex-Renault Academy driver, but hopefully he can become a Mercedes driver. But Esteban Ocon is a Mercedes Junior driver, and he has got the experience. And yes, he has almost followed George Russell. So if they look at George Russell and think he's doing a good job, he's almost tied and tested the route for Ocon to do. So I believe that he will go to Williams. It'll also strengthen their relationship with Williams because it'll be Williams Mercedes. There's only 3 teams on the grid that use Mercedes engines. Obviously Williams, Force Racing Point, and obviously Mercedes. And it will just make them a stronger a stronger Mercedes junior partner, which I think is one of the most important things to have, especially for the two progression of the drivers, but obviously for the team, which at the moment, back of the grid, least amount of funds. Yes, it's you can't dip your head in the sand and say that Williams do need every help they can get. Which also brings me back to kind of saying about Lance Stroll and the money. If Williams need the money, they'll get more sponsors from Mercedes if they bring in another Mercedes Junior driver.
So you think he'll go to Williams? So Jonty, I'll bring you back to this. So I'm going to ask you this question. So do you think Ocon would want a season potentially at the back with Williams, or do you think he'll potentially want a season at the front with Mercedes in Formula E?
See, that's a tricky one. It's always going to be a tricky one for the drivers. That toss-up between Formula One or winning, because every driver wants to get to Formula One.
It's the dream, isn't it? That's what they're all there for. They're not there to go, right, if I get to Formula 2, that's it. If I get to Formula E, that's it.
I mean, some drivers have even, they've been at the back, they've been with, HRT, Virgin Racing, Russia or Manor, and they've even said that this is the highlight of my career. Yeah. I remember watching an interview with Christian Klein, ex-Red Bull driver, I think it was 2005. He went nowhere, but even watching him in an interview, he said that season, alongside Mark Webber, at Red Bull, at a new team, was the highlight of his career. Yeah. So it is a hard one, yeah. That's what everyone dreams about.
Even Chandok said the same thing, and he was in what I think is officially the worst team we've ever had in the HRTs. They were absolutely nowhere, but he loved every second of it.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so hard for Ocon. He's definitely got the chops to be it. He's a good driver, and always has been. Yeah. You look back to his Formula 3, 2014. Look at the other people that he's beaten. Max Verstappen was third.
Close rival with him, wasn't he?
Third. Yeah. Fuoco, Giovinazzi, Jordan King, Latifi, Felix Rosenqvist. These are all very big names.
Yeah.
And he beat them all. Again, GP3 the year after. A lot of them are still there. Giotto, Fuoco again. These are very, very good drivers who will be making the move to Formula 1 at some point, I'm sure. So he's got every right to be on that Formula 1 grid, especially considering two of the people he's beaten are on there right now. One of them very close to the front in Max. It would work.
Which also, I just wanted to quickly mention. So, I've been reading I've been reading a few articles about this, and I watched a video on YouTube about it. So you both remember the 2018 collision in Intergalos between race leader Max and Esteban Ocon, where Esteban tried to overtake Max on the centre S, and they both span around with damage. A few people have been saying that that's damaged Esteban's reputation, even though they did make up after the event, but there was pushing on the scales and things like that. So do you still believe that that's harmed Esteban's reputation in Formula One if he does? Well, he is in Formula One now, but if he returns to the main grid, do you think that'll still be on his reputation cards, where people will say, "Oh, remember that Verstappen incident in Brazil"?
Well, there's always that chance that it might have, but you've got to look at the teams that he'll be going for. I think it would be more damaging to his reputation if going for a top team, but if he's going to end up at Williams, the chances are it could well be a benefit, because it shows them that he's always going to be doing everything he possibly can to get them further up to try and get those results. It didn't work in Brazil quite spectacularly, but unlapping himself there, that could have given them the extra chance to make up a couple of places. Because he was flying at the time on the different tyres.
Definitely.
The Max was tall. At the time.
We said in the video we made last year, me and Jordan, that we both sided with. We said it was a racing incident, but we both didn't agree with Max. We said Esteban was faster. He has the right to unlap himself. If that's the case, then just pull people out of the race. But Esteban was within his right to overtake him. And yes, as you just said, John, with Williams, for example, or even Formula E, on his CV, to say that you've done something like that, you've almost fought Max. You've failed, but you've fought him. It'll stand him in good stead. Yeah,
and it's all going to come down to things like who's running the team, because there's very different personalities with the people at the top. That fighting no matter what, that will go down very well with people like Claire Williams, Gunther Steiner, but not so much with Toto Wolff, Christian Horner, because they know how important the points are. They've all been in that position where they can lose things by a point or two, and that could be the difference between a title and not. Is it?
And then that's when you're going to be questioning. Have I got the right driver? Then you're probably sitting there thinking, well, if Bottas was in that seat, he wouldn't have made that mistake. If Bottas was in this seat, he could have been not pushing for like P5, but he could have been pushing for podiums. He could have got his extra point. It's like everyone's questioning now. Pierre Gasly, I remember the couple of races this season where everyone's going, would have Ricciardo made that move? Would have Ricciardo been fighting for this? Would Ricciardo this? Would Ricciardo that? And probably a similar kind of situation, wouldn't it? It's like, if you do let's say put Ocon in the big seat, it's going to be, and he starts making mistakes, because it can happen, because Gasly was a good driver, and he showed some real good promise in the Super Formula, the lower ranks, and even in Toro Rosso. He comes to Red Bull and it's not working out for him, and that could easily happen with Ocon at Mercedes, which is what you were saying about damaging his reputation. Should he join one of the big teams?
And you're always going to get that. You're always going to get those comparisons. I think the biggest problem you've got is that another big problem they've got is that big gap between the top three and the rest. I think that's very much what's going on with Gasly and Ricciardo at the moment. It's taken Ricciardo 7 races to actually really get up to speed. And the same with Gasly. But it's just working in the opposite direction. You've got Gasly suddenly jumped up to one of the front-running cars, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, it's so much more grip, it's so much more control, it's so much quicker. And Ricciardo's gone down expecting a car to do what he's used to it doing, and it won't. And it's taken some time to get used to that. What effect will that have?
The thing is, that's almost so what I was saying about people were saying that Esteban would be replacing Bottas, and again, like you were just saying, Jonty. So Valtteri Bottas has been, he hasn't just been at the team for a few years. He's been in Formula One for a long time. He started out with Williams alongside Felipe Massa in the V8 and the V6 era. When he went to Mercedes at the end of 2016 for the 2017 season, me and John had started doing our shows then, so again we had something to comment on at least. We said that Bottas, or people were saying anyways, that Bottas might have been a seat filler for Sebastian Vettel or somebody like that. Obviously, he filled the seat. It worked out great for him. And he's in the team. He's established. And like I was just saying at the start, he's at 5 wins now. Obviously, 30-odd podiums. Loads and loads and loads of points. As I say, he's helped them win the 2017, 2018, and most likely the 2019 Constructors' Championship. Because, at the moment they sit on 295, and that's before the French Grand Prix round 8. And that's insane. As we've said in many occasions, some teams in the past have won the championship on them points alone, and we're not even halfway through the season. So what I mean is that Valtteri Bottas, he knows how that car works. He can drive it almost with his eyes closed. Why would Mercedes scrap that and get rid of a driver who can do that? And there's a lot more wins and podiums under his belt. Why would Mercedes get rid of him to bring in a guy who is just finished 27 races? He hasn't scored points in many of them, but he's finished 27 races, and he has driven for Manor, and he has tested the virtual simulator back at Brackley. Why would they get rid of Bottas when he's got all that experience for somebody just to kind of show him the ropes and just to give him what was promised to him when he probably signed for the team at the start of last year?
Well, exactly. And these are all.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that for a question. Yes, so yes, Jonty and John, yes, please elaborate on what you think about that. Would they actually get rid of Bottas, even if he crashed out of every race so at the end of so far in this season? Would they get rid of him like that, or would they think about all of his experience and keep him on because he knows how that car drives?
Well, Bottas is managed by Toto Wolff, isn't he? So, and that's how that's how we got the seat. That's how we got that seat. But as long as Bottas is still scoring the points and Mercedes still win the constructors, there's nothing more Mercedes can do than win the constructors. They're not progressing. They're just trying to maintain their position of being at the top. And at the moment Bottas is doing a good enough job to keep Mercedes at the top. The moment that Bottas, or even someone else for that matter, starts, well, maybe not Hamilton, I think Hamilton will be there. Hamilton could be finishing last and he'll still be there. But let's say Bottas starts falling away massively, and we're talking P6, P7, battling with the likes of McLaren and the Haas's, and Mercedes don't score as many points, and then start slipping to second and third. I think that's when they'll start considering getting rid of Bottas. But Bottas is he's doing the job, isn't he? He's still scoring consistent points. And he might not be winning as many races as Hamilton, but Mercedes is still up there at the top, and that's where Mercedes want to be. But let's say Bottas decides, right, I'm calling it a day, I'm going. Who do they bring in? Potentially Ocon, because again, similar to why Bottas got that seat, or mainly why Bottas got that seat, is because he's managed by Toto Wolff. So it would make sense to bring Ocon in, but I couldn't personally see them getting rid of Bottas, sacking him and replacing him with Ocon. Bottas will have to leave, or Hamilton will have to retire for that matter, for Ocon to get that seat. But then again, what Jonty was saying at the start about timing and stuff, if they keep those two drivers for 2-3 years, let's say, and Ocon, let's say, sticks around Formula 1 waiting for that seat, then let's say there's a new driver in the fold, George Russell, for example. Let's say he gets that seat. Mick Schumacher, I know that's a big shout, but for me, like we've said before, I know this is a bit random to bringing Mick into this, but for me, both me and Lyle have said that Mick will be in Formula 1 because he's Michael Schumacher's son. He will be there. He's not exactly the best of drivers, but he will be there.
No.
And he will bring a lot of media attention to Formula 1 and to the certain team he's with. He'll bring absolutely boatloads of sponsors, media, whatever, you name it. And they're going to have a really, PR kind of guy who's potentially quick, and a young driver who's potentially, maybe it's not much the next Lewis Hamilton, but he's going to be the next British driver to lead the line.
Yeah.
So, and again, Ocon could be like, okay, all right, now's my time for the seat. Oh, they've got two young drivers who are going to take the team forward, and I'm still sitting here in the midfield. All right, okay, let's go to Formula E. Oh, I can't because there's two other drivers there. Okay, let's go. Okay, I can't go there because, and he's stuck.
He's kind of stuck in. Yeah, I mean, he is kind of stuck in no man's land. Yeah, because he's been.
His time does have to be spot on.
Yeah.
But
he's been stuck in no man's land for a long time, and it hasn't worked out for him.
Because at the moment, I mean, it's all if he does this, if he does that, we don't know a definitive answer. So I'm gonna throw you to another question, okay? So let's say Ocon replaces Valtteri Bottas. Let's say Bottas I don't know, let's say, falls out with someone at Mercedes or has enough at Mercedes or doesn't want to play second fiddle to Hamilton anymore, he leaves, right? Ocon comes in. Where does Bottas go? Does he stay in Formula One, or does he retire from motorsport, or does he go on to somewhere else, to another form of motorsport? If so, where?
It's a hard one. Jonty, do you want to take that first?
Good question.
John, you start.
I'd have to say, you've really got me thinking there, because he hasn't. The way his experience goes, he's very much single seat.
Yeah.
But there isn't any other single seat. I certainly don't see Bottas as an IndyCar driver.
No, absolutely not.
I'd say one logical position, and you saying if Bottas goes and Ocon takes the seat, this can work either way. I would say not for next year, 2021. One of those two will be in World Endurance Championship with the new hypercar rules using the Mercedes GT1, is it they called it?
Yes.
I reckon they'll enter with that.
Beautiful thing, by the way.
Right. The only reason I'm saying this is because he is Finnish, and I can't think of anything else. Rallycross.
I knew. I was thinking, right. I thought, right, I've asked that question. I thought, have I just asked a really stupid question? Because I thought he's Finnish. He's obviously he's going to go into rallying because Raikkonen did it for a brief stint. Like other drivers have actually done that. And he did compete in a rally, didn't he? Was it before the season started, or was it just after? I can't remember.
Yeah, he's done a couple.
Was before, I think. Yeah,
he did. So,
but yeah, he would. Yeah, he'd definitely go into something else. But see, the thing is, I just want to try to say, it isn't really a question, but obviously, me and Jordan have talked about Max Verstappen and what happened at Red Bull. When they replaced him with Danny Kvyat, and they made that decision. It was down to Max, and it was down to Jos, and it was down to the team, and Danny just had to kind of play along with it. And Mercedes, every team, like Ferrari, they've kind of treat every driver equally. Even when it was Fernando Kimi, then it was Seb Kimi, then obviously now Seb Charles. It's very very fair. Lewis Nico, and then obviously now Lewis Valtteri, and I think that's how they need to run a team. But if there's any way, and this is about talking about if they were going to get Esteban in to replace Valtteri, if there was any kind of inclination that Valtteri was going to be kicked out of the team for Esteban, and then I think it would turn into more of like a Red Bull kind of decision. And if you remember Max Verstappen, take out the win at Spain, he didn't take to that team like the best. The only reason that he did, and that I also believe that one of the reasons why he was given so much support is because he won the Spanish Grand Prix and became the youngest ever Formula One winner, which will never ever happen again as well at his age. So I think that's another reason. But I think Mercedes, if they ever did kick Valtteri out for Esteban, then they would turn to bad management from the team, and I think it would really show that Esteban wouldn't be another Max. He wouldn't win a race. He wouldn't win a race like Max did, and there would be some real big problems there. I think that's, if that ever happened, but obviously it wouldn't because they've probably seen that and they've probably thought we need to be the better team and treat both our drivers fairly. So again, Johnny comes back to what you said about the only way Esteban would ever take that Mercedes seat is if Valtteri or Lewis, more Valtteri, but they're still on the same level. They could both leave at the same time. But if one of those has to leave for Esteban to come in, there will be no way in hell that Esteban will replace Valtteri, and Valtteri is almost like fired by the team. That will never ever happen. Even if he's at the back for every race at the end of the season, he'll be encouraged to leave. Maybe he'll be encouraged to maybe look at other options. If he is performing badly, but he'll never ever be fired. It's almost like Valtteri has tenure at Mercedes. Never.
That's how they play these things. All behind closed doors. You always get it. The magic words of, look, you can either leave or we'll fire you. And it always sounds better to say you've chosen to leave.
Yeah, and maybe more drivers have had that than we actually know of, like possibly Ricardo, but I don't want to start a whole thing here, guys. But yes, I agree. Yeah, it's more like, jump or we'll push you. Jump or we'll push you, that's it.
I think Ricardo was more because they were building the team around Max. And
that's it, yeah.
Ricardo felt a bit left out.
Yeah.
But like,
I said I didn't want to start anything. I still don't. I was just saying it for the sake of it.
I'm like, oh yes, that's another debate. I want to talk about that.
There's so many.
You know how people are going to be out there, man.
But yeah, so I mean, it's all like it gives me a bit of a headache at times. This it's just like all like what it, all ifs and buts, isn't it? I think we may as well call this YouTube channel the if or but debate show. I think that's all we really the if or but.
We've never called something that's actually happened. It's all ifs and buts.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what we that's what we do. It is all ifs and buts because we generally don't know. There's all kinds of scenarios that could possibly happen. I think for me, Ocon. Has the ship sailed on the Mercedes seat? I don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
The only way Bottas is getting kicked from that seat for Ocon is if Bottas has, from this point, a year even worse than last year.
Yeah.
And that's never going to happen.
Because he's already won 2 races.
Yeah.
So
Well, I meant from this point, because how he went down.
But he's established himself in the team, and 2017 was terrible for. 2018 was terrible for Bottas, John. We've said that many times.
Yeah,
after like what happened at Russia as well, the team didn't treat him the best. So this year was heading into like being terrible for Valerie, and it was actually heading into the fact that yes, okay, he could be replaced by Esteban.
Yeah.
I think Toto Wolff rubbed more salt in the wound by saying that, because Valerie was almost left, up a creek without a paddle. You know what I mean? Like nowhere. And then he comes in, and then he wins in Australia. And again, going back to that radio message, to whom it may concern, F you. And that is yet another reason why. It's because of all this negativity that Mercedes put on him, and also the fact that Toto Wolff was literally standing behind Valerie, whispering in his ear, right, I sponsor you, I'm managing you, but let's get Esteban in, let's get Esteban in, let's get Esteban in. And he was like, no, I'm going to win the race, F you, Toto, even though you're my manager. And I'll see you in Brackley on Monday.
But I think
and that's how it goes.
Yeah, I think this kind of like media talk, it may put Bottas down a bit, because it's like, well, I've won 2 races, I'm more or less on par with Hamilton, and people are still questioning, my future. But at the same time, this is what the media do. This is what they've got to do to get a story out. That's how they make money and stuff. It's another thing.
Sorry, John. It's another thing about. So, this is kind of a phrase as well. Kimi Räikkönen at Ferrari. Kimi Räikkönen was at Ferrari for a very long time. It was 116 races between his previous win, which was at the 2013 Australian Grand Prix at Albert Park, to his 2018 victory in Austin, which is incredible, mind. But take that out of the equation, and he was at Ferrari for about 5 years. And especially me, I was talking to Jordan a lot about it, and I talked a lot on the show about is Kimi really the best man to have a Ferrari? The man who's not winning races. But the thing that kept him at Ferrari, and the thing that, it will be remembered, his second phase of Ferrari, I must say that, not his first, but his second phase at Ferrari, the fact that kept him there was not the fact that he was winning races, but the fact that he was doing second places, and third places, and fourth places, and fifth places, and he was doing unbelievably consistent races where, he was finishing in the points, and he was finishing in good positions, and he was finishing on the podium. You'd watch races where it was a Mercedes 1-2 domination or a Max mystery, but Kimi Räikkönen would always be on the podium, and that's another reason why Bottas deserves to stay at Mercedes, because he did that in his previous years. Obviously, he's won 2 races, but he's had, I think it's 6 podiums he's had this season so far, obviously including his 2 wins, where he's, as I say, he hasn't won the other 5, he hasn't won the other 4 podiums, but he's finished 2nd or 3rd, even then 4th and 5th, and he's getting them points, and that's being consistent. Even if he's not winning, but being consistent is a reason why Mercedes will absolutely adore him, and I've said that before on the show.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Bottas he is doing a solid job at the moment, and pretty much what everyone is saying really, that Bottas won't be sacked by the team at all. I think for me, you obviously you saying the ship has completely sailed on that Mercedes seat. Yes, I think it has as well, to be honest with you. But for me as well, probably like you guys as well, I think that there is still opportunities out there for Esteban Ocon to be in Formula 1, but very, very slim. I think what me and Jonty were saying there, I think Formula E could be the way forward to kind of put Ocon in that seat, let him race, let him make a brand new reputation of himself, and just maybe start a brand new chapter, because maybe Formula 1 is just mucking him about a bit, going here, there, and everywhere. So just before we end, I want to give Jonty, or ask Jonty, his predictions for the French Grand Prix. The French Grand Prix is this weekend. It's actually tomorrow as you're watching this, and we made our predictions in our French Grand Prix preview show, which you can go and check out now. Links might be in the description somewhere. So Jonty, French Grand Prix, let us know your top 3 for the French Grand Prix. Who's going to be on that podium come on Sunday afternoon?
Well, I usually like to be a bit outlandish with these predictions, but unfortunately, you can't look any further than Hamilton, Bottas, and then you can throw a dice for whoever's going to be on third. It's one of 4, but I'm going to go with Vettel.
Vettel.
Same as Jordan's. That's exactly the same as Jordan's, isn't it?
I said as well about. I said, like, for me, it's 1 and 2 certain. I think Hamilton unstoppable. What I say, he's won 5 out of the past 6 races. In his form so far, he's only been in 1 and 2 this season. For me, Hamilton's just unstoppable at the moment. Bottas, it is a must win, as I did say. It is definitely a must win if he wants to keep his championship hopes alive. But for third place, it's just randomly just pick a driver. Just go, okay, this week it's going to be Max Verstappen. This week it's
best of the rest. Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean. So it doesn't make it predictable, but it kind of like we do want a surprise. We do want a surprise result very soon, like the Baku 2017. You know what I mean? Like, how good was that?
Yeah.
That was seeing the Lance Stroll on the podium. I mean, who expected that? I mean,
I think with my predictions, because I've said I haven't said Lewis Hamilton, I haven't said Mercedes for all of them. I've said I think it was Max. I think Max I said for Azerbaijan, and then in Monaco I said Sebastian Vettel, which was possible. Obviously, I was at the race as well. It was great drive by him. It was only the fact that Lewis was catchable. It was also just the fact of with Max's time penalty that kind of held him back. Yeah. But then I've also said Sebastian Vettel for this race. The reason why I said is because, yes, the Mercedes are going to be powerful, but Canada for sure, the Ferrari was much better all weekend. And I was even saying in the preview show, they can take that away as like a moral victory if they want. I mean, it sucks. It's like finishing in second place, which they did. Taking away the fact that they were the fastest car, you can do, but it means nothing. And obviously Vettel would have won the race. It's just unfortunate what the penalty was. Yeah. But Vettel will for sure want his victory because he will feel very low after Canada, and so will Ferrari as well. Because now they've had 2 victories that, one of them wasn't their fault; it was the steward's fault. One of them came out their hands, but it was the car's fault. Yeah. So yes, Ferrari and Seb will need that win. Second place, Lewis Hamilton. Again, obviously Lewis has got to be on the podium. And for third, I said Max because I'm a bit more of I'm a Red Bull fan, and obviously Max is the stronger out of the 2 Red Bulls. But now that I look back, I'm like, I don't know. As John said, it is very much a toss up for third place, definitely. But yes, I do think he'll be going strong. It'll either be between him and Bottas, but I've already said Max, so let's go third position at Paul Ricard. I think I've just kind of taken into consideration his amazing second place, I believe it was, in 2018's race, which was one of my favourite races of 2018. I love the circuit, Paul Ricard. I love the circuit. The fans were amazing in the grandstands, and yeah, it was an amazing race. Obviously made better by Seb's crash into Bottas at the start, obviously opening up kind of his 2018 book of crashes and controversy.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I could predict put my favourite my team on the podium, but I'm a McLaren supporter, so it kind of
makes it difficult.
Doesn't really that well, does it? At the moment. Yeah. For the next one, I might put Carlos Sainz first, Lando Norris in second place. But anyways, guys, this is where we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you very much for watching as well. If you're already ready, then please like and subscribe as well. And thank you very much for Jonty for coming on our show today. Big privilege to get him on. Links to his channel will be in the description below. Jonty, just finally, what's your plans on YouTube? I think you were saying it was that you plan on starting up again, or
yeah,
where's your mind at with that?
Yeah, I am fully planning on getting going as it always should have been. I've just not really had the time or the ability to do it, but I have now. Exactly. You can't see it, unfortunately, but I've got all the stuff ready to go behind me with bits of memorabilia and books and all the rest of it. You got to have a backdrop, haven't you? And
exactly. Mine's just a cream wall. Doesn't get any better than that, does it?
Yeah, stick some pictures
wallpaper
on there, or magazines, what have you.
Just kick it out.
If you watch the very old school F1 debate show videos in 2016, my old university room, I had a photo of, it was a poster of Fernando Alonso 2012's Ferrari going up Radion. And I just think, wow, how far have we come from there?
No, exactly. With amazing backdrops, I used to be in front of my door. Then I used to have me Formula One tops, In the background, there's like a little bit of an effect, and now I've just got a plain green wall.
Yeah.
You know, progress, guys. Progress. Very much, guys.
Progress.
Thank you very much for watching. As I said, links to Jonty's channel will be in the description below. Go and check his channel out for when he relaunches. And until next time, we shall see you later.
See ya.
Cheers, guys. See you later.